I think it's important to reimagine governance and do it now because the sector is going through such profound change. As we've come through the pandemic, now working through a period of prolonged inflation, we're seeing real stress on charities and nonprofits in their ability to continue to serve their communities. Organizations are going to need to look at new ways of doing business, and that includes all aspects of the organization, including the board. So rather than reimagine governance being a project or perhaps even a negative because it's change, I think this is a real opportunity for organizations to view the future different than the past and say that part of that future includes a different way of thinking about how we're governed.
I think the worst thing an organization can do is, get a sense that they've got their governance right and now they can move on and do other things. I mean, partly that's true. You want to get it right so that, it creates a really good platform for you to be effective. But at the same time, it's something you should be thinking about constantly as your volunteers come in, as staff come in, as circumstances change. So the danger, I think, is to look at governance as something which is static rather than looking at it as a dynamic process.
I think sometimes we can be hesitant to try new things and to take a leap of faith. We want to make sure we're all successful. So just really encourage everybody to give yourselves, when you're thinking about reimagining governance, give yourself the time and space to really think about what's possible, to try on new ideas. And then if you decide to implement something, give yourself lots and lots of time and understanding as you go through the journey and process of making those changes.
As a funder, I know that I always look at how organizations govern themselves. It doesn't need to be perfect, but what I do like is to see organizations that are thinking about it, that realize that it's important to do.
I think it's critically important that we truly reimagine, because I think that for many organizations, the future is not about tweaking. It's not making incremental change. It's looking at where is our place in the community? Where is our place as a partner or as a recipient of funds? And asking questions about how that might look different from the past that we've experienced. As a result, leadership is going to need to look and act differently. How do we ask different questions that push us to a place of discomfort, which is where we might find some of those truly innovative ideas?
We won't get there if we only look at the board. We're not going to get there. I'm convinced of that. I'm convinced that we have to look at things much more broadly, and that has to be part of governance, and that is reimagining governance.
Funder is a stakeholder, and that's what reimagining governance is really all about, is thinking about your governance structure and your stakeholders differently than you have in the past.
At the heart of it is going to require a way of acting that's different than the way the organization has maybe historically acted. And that can be everything from recruiting directors who look and bring different characteristics and perspectives to the table. Often, we continually recruit directors from our circles of people that we know. Well, they may all be the same as we've been for 20, 30, 40 years. That's going to require intentionality and a different way of acting than we've had in the past.
It takes time to socialize ideas. So let's say, for example, you're reimagining governance and there's something that you want to do with your funder or funders. Decide what that is and start to have conversations with them really early on, because they may be more receptive than you think, or it may just take longer than you thought it would.
The act of governance is a collective responsibility, where the most visible ambassadors of that collective responsibility are the board of directors. But without the support of the staff, without the support of those who are on dedicated working groups or task forces, it's impossible for the board to be able to do all of that on their own. So it's really a partnership in terms of ensuring that communities continue to have the trust, either to entrust their aging parents to a program, their kids to a program, their time as volunteers or their money as donors. It's a collective obligation and responsibility.